All right. Well, we'll just get on with it then. This is Zach. This is episode 59, I hope. I definitely am claiming it is of the podcast I'll regret making. Um, yep, it is. We're good. Um, had an unexpected day off today, so I'm all set up. Figured I'd knock out this stream before I get some dinner. Gotta figure out what I'm doing for dinner too. But anyway, first things first, let's talk fake hockey, shall we? We'll start off in my questions thread, which I've miraculously already closed because I'm a very smart person. Starting with Blues, who was in chat. I don't know if he still is or not, but he asked some questions, so I'll add them in here. Perfect. But he starts by asking, Zach, are you still a massive Trampled by Turtles fan? I am, and actually, probably a couple of months ago, I saw them in concert again. Um, I saw them at Winston Salem, so that I've now seen them live 3 times because I have a problem. Um, Although I must be honest, as big as of a Trampled by Turtles fan as I am, the infamous String Dusters stole the show. They were awesome. Um, I already was somewhat familiar with their work, but really hadn't like sat down and listened to a whole album or anything on Spotify or anything like that. So that was my first like extended exposure to them, and they were incredible. So I've definitely added them to my rotation at this point, and I look forward to getting a chance to see them again sometime. Trampled was admittedly a little disappointing, I have to say, this time around, but still love them. Um, it was just, I think they're just kind of in a weird spot. They haven't really put out any new stuff in a little bit, so they were kind of just playing a mishmash of the hits, so to speak. And eh, I had heard them all in concert before, and they didn't really. Sometimes, especially with the more upbeat songs, they extend them a little bit, freestyle a little bit, and they didn't really do that either. It was just kind of all right, play the hits and get out of here. I don't think they were really into being in Winston Salem on a Wednesday night or whatever it was, which you know I won't take a shot at Winston Salem or anything, but so but yeah, still a huge Trampled fan. So Hurricanes absolutely killed this draft. Favorite picks for me, it's either Honker or Pistola, even though Vinsoria is nice too. I didn't get to keep up with day 2 of the draft very much, but I know um, everyone, which I like. It seems everyone's a very dangerous word to use because there's always a critic. But I've seen like all of the experts were like, "Oh, the Hurricanes had a great draft." All of that, like Athletic, ESPN, TSN, like across the board, like all everybody is putting like A's or A pluses or A minuses for draft grades. Which, like, okay, what does that mean? We haven't seen any of these players actually play a professional game yet, for the most part. So, like, cool, but um, definitely pretty exciting. I think my favorite development of the draft was seeing one. Like I say, there's always a critic, and one person really wanted us to draft Arthur Kalyev in the first round because the logic was, we have Svechnikov, so he needs more. Russian comrades to build chemistry with, which, as the fake co-head of Russia, that sounds great. Um, I'm all for that, but there's only one problem. Kalyev's family is from like Uzbekistan, and he's been living in Staten Island since he was 11 months old, and he plays for America internationally. So he is about as Russian as I am. Instead, we drafted Ryan Suzuki, who actually played with Svechnikov in the OHL. So, if that's what you were going for, we kind of did it. Just saying. Um, yeah, but good times. Like I say, critic in every crowd, even within your own flock. Um, and then you had the question in chat here. I'll go ahead and lump that in about my thoughts on the recent Hurricanes trades. So, obviously, it's hard not to like the Patrick Marleau trade. One, for the memes. Um, just the fact that we'll be able to forevermore say Carolina Hurricanes legend Patrick Marleau uh, really makes that trade worth it. Uh, the DeHaan trade surprised me. My understanding is that it was more of a move to open up cap space, which I'm curious to see, how that plays out. Um, hopefully it'll work out. I'm not sure. It's yes, Carolina Hurricanes legend Patrick Marleau. I'm gonna try to do a better job. I couldn't figure out a chat overlay deal for people watching this on demand later. I did try, so I'll try to read out the comments uh, as we get along with them. Blues fan echoing my sentiment that Patrick Marleau will be a Carolina Hurricanes legend after getting traded here and then immediately getting bought out so that he can presumably sign in San Jose for cheap. So that seems to be the unspoken agreement amongst the hockey world about what's going on here. Yeah, like I said, so the DeHaan trade, I don't know, I don't get it, but hopefully it works out. There seems to be a plan. Uh, the Erik Haula trade is interesting. Um, we didn't give up a lot, okay? The prospect we gave up has not been terribly impressive thus far. Obviously, those things can change. You never know with youngsters when they're going to hit their prime. Maybe he just hasn't hit his yet, but he isn't really. I mean, he's NHL ready. He did fairly well for the Checkers in the playoffs, but um, at the same time, I don't know that we really have a spot for him. I'm not entirely sure right away he'll have a spot in Vegas either. Um, so we'll see. You know, Fuzz loved Sarella. That was one of the pieces in the DeHaan trade, and yeah, I also was not a fan of losing him in that trade. Um, and I'm not. I get bringing in Forsberg, especially with our current goalie situation. Not really. It's very uncertain at the moment. But man, I just don't know. It felt like DeHaan was a lot to give up for the return, especially when we had been talking about moving defensemen, but not. Um, he was never really in that conversation. And really, left-handed defensemen in general weren't in that conversation. So in that sense, it was a pretty puzzling move too. But anyway, and yeah, I'm not really sure what to think of Holla. Like I said, we didn't give up a ton for him. He doesn't have a terrible cap hit. He fills some of the space opened up by DeHaan getting moved. I know experts are speaking well of what Holla will bring to the team. I just don't know a lot about him, honestly. So we'll see. But this time of year last year, we were kind of in a similar boat. I thought, we didn't get we did not get a ton in return for Jeff Skinner. We kind of neutered his value with our treatment of him over the 2 seasons leading up to that trade, and so that ended up. The team has gotten better with the moves, but I don't know if that was necessarily a great trade. But can't argue with the results, so hopefully we'll just keep trending in the right direction. Will Hamilton keep their good play up? Well, probably not, because unfortunately we do have to put. This is kind of mean, but we will have to put Halsey back in the lineup at some point. We're 4-0 with him suspended at the moment, so we've got that going for us, which is nice. Although I must complain that even in his absence, I'm still on the third pairing. I didn't even get a promotion out of the gig. What is that crap? So I guess I'll just be sitting here on this third pair, and don't mind me, guys. But yeah, I think we're all a little bit surprised by how well Hamilton has done. But when you have a hot goaltender, sometimes good stuff happens. And right now, Narconis is second in the league in save percentage, and has a pair of shutouts on the season. So as long as you've got that going on and you can score some goals, you're usually going to be in pretty good shape. And we've had no problem scoring goals. We are leading the league in scoring. So we'll definitely have to ride this out, because we'll be losing some of these players to retirement at the end of the season. So got to make the most of this run. We definitely weren't building towards it. So I think it's kind of caught us all a little bit by surprise. But you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So we'll see how it plays out for sure. I think Winnipeg's even in a similar situation in the West, leading the Western Conference right now. Yeah, if you had said before the season that Winnipeg and Hamilton would be leading their respective conferences, I think a lot of people would have called you crazy. But here we are, in Hamilton with 34 points with a 16-5-2 record, and Winnipeg is at 16-7-0. So both are 16-win teams through 23 games. It's just we have the pity points over Winnipeg in the West, and West Kendall in the East actually at 16-7. So gotta love them loser points. Those are always fun. Where are my questions? There it is. Why do you hate Pris? Can't be because she's short. Are we talking Pris the user, or Pris as in her player? If it's the user, it's more just I love giving her a hard time, because she's basically like a little sister. And so it's just always fun to make fun of her at every opportunity, especially because she's short. The players, narrative wise, actually legitimately, like Nikolai and Anastasia, actually do not like each other at all. Like, that's an ingrained narrative. So let me tell you right now, with Ben Dover suspended, Nikolai is fuming that Anastasia got moved up to the second pairing ahead of him. And I think that's why we've seen him playing so well during this stretch here. I say well, relatively. He's not like point per game or anything, but after a really cold start, he has definitely seen an uptick in production. And I think some of that is being motivated by seeing that pylon, that goon on the second pairing. I mean, did you see her get ejected with a game misconduct against Edmonton for attempt to injure? I mean, my God. How do we allow players like that to share the same ice as Nikolai? I mean, just a disgrace. And it's really unfortunate that we have to be teammates, but, you know, it's disappointing to say the least. But it does provide that extra motivation for Nikolai to elevate his game and prove that should be him in that spot, and certainly not that boat anchor, Anastasio Koivu. So we'll see if the team gets the message or not. Only time will tell. Thank you, Blues, for the questions. CrossFit asks, oh, Zach, I never knew that Nikolai would gimmick infringe another wrestler by calling himself royalty. First off, you can call it gimmick infringement all you want. Nikolai is, and forever will be, the son of a Sarmad Khan winner and a Hall of Famer, I might add, as well as a McBride winner, no matter how much you want to dispute that point. If there was ever the definition of royalty in this league, there have been plenty of second generation, third generation players, whatever, because it's very easy / lazy to just do that, to just keep coming up with new first names to plug in with your last name or create Chuck Goody Jr. or whatever. But I dare you to find another one who's both their father and their mother experienced the levels of success enjoyed by Zach Evans and Ekaterina Rudnikova. I dare you. Enlighten me if you find that out to be the case. Nikolai is royalty, like real life royalty, not that wrestling royalty, okay? That this is the embodiment, the definition. I know it's infringement, quote unquote, to say Nikolai is genetically superior to other players in the SHL, but in this case, it's actually true. I'm sorry if it bothers you to hear that. Anyways, he continues. The concept of the SHL Bullet Club, which he asked about on my last episode, is that there's no real leader. I, referring to himself, am the creator. It doesn't mean he is the leader, but we all work together at the end of the day to make the SHL Bullet Club one of the more prestigious factions in the SHL. Staying as a unit is what the Bullet Club is, until, of course, when the time comes to change things up. So, see, this is the thing, okay? This is why I made my terms very clear on behalf of Nikolai, that either he is the leader or he is not interested, because he is royalty. And you say it yourself. There's not a leader until there is. So why am I going to let you say you're not the leader and then take credit for being the quote-unquote architect as you tear it apart inevitably in some dramatic heel turn? Like, why would I give you that credit and that glory when you can do the right thing and just make me the leader, or accept that not only will I not be part of the group, but I will make it a point to tear it apart, which I will obviously be able to do because I'm royalty. The ball is in your court, CrossFit. Do with that information as you see fit. Thank you for the question. And ironically, and I say that as a joke, Pin Knight joins the chat saying, effing live, I am officially impressed just as I get to his questions. In the questions thread, he first asks, please pronounce ZT Evans for me. Well, there you go. ZT Evans. It's my first initial, my middle initial, and my last name. Pretty boring stuff. Like I said many moons ago in the comments for Big Slappy Hour 48, as they noted in reply to you on the forums, I've also been called Zetevans on other forums. I've been called ZT Evans because you goofy Canadians called the ZZ up there. So, like, fine, that's technically the same thing. You're just weird. Stevens is one that really only came up when I joined the SHL. I get it, because you just replace the Z with an S and then you get Stevens. But no, that was never the intention. But it's definitely stuck here for sure. To the point that in one other league, I even gave myself the surname Stevens with a player I made in another league just to play off of that. But yeah, nope, it is ZT Evans. So, are you able? Oh, let's see. Pin Knight says in chat, yeah, but the way you spell it, it's one word. You know it is a little confusing or unclear. Anyways, I get thanks. Oh yeah, sure. But it started off as honestly just a username that was given to me by some automatic generator because of my name. And yeah, so. Are you able to use your new head office powers to change the IHF the way you envision it? No, not really. The for newer, especially because we have a bunch of new podcasts now, so there's probably some, and some of them are being made by newer users. Okay, so I will take this opportunity to kind of explain something regarding the HOs, because it can be confusing, and this is a question I used to get a lot when I was in SMJHL, HO, wow, a couple of years ago. I mean, not this question specifically, obviously, but I lost my train of thought. Okay, right. So the SHL head office, the SMJHL head office, and the IHF head office are three independent bodies. Granted, the other two answer to a certain extent to the SHL head office, the SMJHL one more so than the IHF one, but ultimately they are left to their own devices and police their own issues. At the end of the day, obviously the SHL one is the overarching one. So if I'm still working out the hierarchy since I just got back into SHL-HO, but if it's like it used to be, I'm sure it is. Basically, the SHL handles SHL matters plus forum related issues, because ultimately you agree to the SHL code of conduct or whatever when you sign up for the forum. And then the SMJHL handles like league specific issues, such as their GMs, that kind of thing. And then the IHF handles, getting those rosters and lines submitted and making sure that tournament operates every offseason and so forth. So SHL head office would have no bearing whatsoever on how the IIHF operates its tournament. With that being said, IHF head office has been very open to the feedback I've given, and we're having a pretty healthy conversation about some potential changes for this season, for IHF season 48, and I think you'll see a couple of changes, not as many as have been proposed. But I do think you will see a better tournament moving forward because of some of the conversations we're having this offseason. And yeah, I'm a part of those, and I kind of got the ball rolling on that. But that has nothing to do with the head office stuff whatsoever. And I hope sincerely they're not putting too much weight into my opinion on these matters because I've now been voted into HO, because it's not that at all. I'm just one of 14, 28 federation heads weighing in on the matters. So that's all. No more, no less than that. I don't have any more or less sway in ultimately how they decide to go about it. Now, certainly if they were sucking at their jobs, then it makes it a lot easier for me to go to SHL head office by being there and being like, hey, we've got a fire over here, we need to put it out. But that's not the case. So hopefully it won't be. I'm going to go ahead, no offense to Slash. I'm not forgetting you, but Pin Knight is here, and he asked me 3 more questions. No, 4 more questions. No, 3 more questions. Yeah, that's 3. Later on in the questions thread. So I'm going to go ahead and pick those up as well. He asks, first or second, however you want to look at it, favorite podcast to listen to when you have time. I'll admit I need to get more into a lot of the newer podcasts. I have listened to yours, and I have enjoyed it thoroughly, especially because it's just so different from the other ones. It's probably the most SHL intensive one, and it's probably one of the more in character ones. A lot of SHL podcasts kind of pull back the curtain and speak from the user experience part. Not that yours doesn't, but it tends to be more nuts and bolts of the league, that kind of thing. So it's nice to have that different perspective. I'm surprised we don't see more of those. I would love to see more podcasts along those lines, especially if you had one that was more of like a pardon the interruption style podcast with 2 people legitimately debating, trends in the league, like SimWise, or maybe the occasional rule change or anything like that, but certainly not any of the SHL Thunderdome type drama or just generic forum issues. Just this is happening in the sim right now. Will it continue? Blah blah blah. I think that would be a cool thing to have, but it's not really like a thing that has really been explored in my time. I know way long ago you hear people talk about like that there used to be like that kind of show or an Around the Horn type show. I don't think Around the Horn would work very well without the video element. You would have to have a very good host who could direct traffic without being able to pick up on anybody's visual cues whatsoever, which would be really difficult. But so I think it would have to be more of a PTI style show to make it work. Pin Knight saying in chat, PTI SHL would be fun. Yeah, I think it would be great. You would just have to find the right people for the job who would be willing to put in that homework every week or so to um, make it happen. Um, Blues fan also asked, will people actually ask me questions for my podcast? Because no one does, and it makes me sad. I will do that after I get done here. Absolutely. But to actually answer Pin Knight's question, since I've rambled for a bit, I think obviously the long-standing old guard answer to this is, of course, the Big Slappy Hour. I enjoy Rich and Adam. I really enjoy the Beancast, although we haven't heard one in a while. Argar, if you're listening, come on, bud. And I asked you questions for this episode. You just haven't answered them yet, so don't give me that bullshit. The Joe Cast has been great since coming on. I enjoy Toivo's podcast a couple of times. I've been able to listen to it so far. I need to listen to some more of the newer stuff. I especially need to listen to Johnson & Johnson because one of my teammates is in that one. So I need to really check that one out. And Blues, of course, he has a good little cast. So, yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of fish in the sea right now, which, I mean, no, I don't want to say unfortunately. It's a good thing, but it's tough to really catch all of them. So, we'll keep digging. Oh, rate them if you can from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. I'd rather not get into rating them because ultimately it's kind of honestly from episode to episode. Yeah, I'll be the first to admit not all of my episodes are, fantastic. In fact, I was just going back and listening to, it was probably 43, 44, because of your next question. And I'll touch on that in a second. Survivor Series says, hi. Hello. I'm not sure if you're an SHL person or not, but if you are, hello. Identify yourself. And if not, hope you enjoy. Oh, it's Wick. Well, hello, Wick. Thanks for joining, man. That's awesome. Yeah, new face. That's one thing I was hoping to get with these live episodes, with some people who normally don't check out the podcasts, giving them a shot and interacting in real time. So cool, very cool, very, very, very cool. Thanks for joining in, and feel free to interact in the chat, ask questions, hang out with Blues and Pin Knight who are already in here, all that good stuff. Anyway, so Pin Knight's question was, I'm moving on to his next question, excuse me. I was reading the archives, and it seems you went through a serious burnout about 2 years ago. It was about 1 year ago, but yes. How did you respark your love for the SHL and now get so involved you are back in head office? So the burnout kind of really came about because honestly, it was just a really negative time in the community of the league. Not that it doesn't get that way at times still, but it was particularly enhanced at the time. And it just wasn't fun to be around. And it was to the point that I was actively chasing away some pretty active users, including, frankly, a lot of my teammates on Winnipeg at the time. Not long after that, I actually won my second cup with the Winnipeg Jets in season 43. That was right as I was starting to fade out and get burnt out. I had stepped down from all my jobs and stuff. And I really can't explain, I don't want to take you don't take any of these cups for granted because they're so hard to win. But it was still such an empty feeling when I won that cup, because and I'll just pull up the roster real quick. Give me a second here. Um, cue elevator music here. This is the magic of live radio. Let's see, that would have been season 43. So let's look at the season 43 regular season index and Winnipeg's roster. We'll do it by scoring. Okay, so your leading scorer was Jason Visser, who, as he still is, was incredibly active but had kind of faded away from the locker room at the time. He was just silently building his player slash assassin that is still wrecking the league. Let's see. CrossFit was active at the time. Corey Bears was and is inactive. Max Weber was and is inactive. That's MW Hazard. Pietra Volkova was inactive and was one of the people that kind of left during this shitty time in the league. LB was inactive while being the co-GM, which was impressive. And then you get to me. I had 45 points that season. I was kind of still active, and I was probably out of your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scores on the team. I was probably the most active out of the bunch, and I wasn't even really fighting regression at the time. So it was honestly a really, empty feeling. I mean, yes, Flappy was active. Even just going down the list, Fridge was not active by that point. He had been long inactive. Kilrad, I think, if he was active, he wasn't hanging out much in the locker room. Crutch had gone inactive. Gala was inactive. Yellow Crab was inactive. Clardy had been inactive ever since we traded for him. Troy was active, but it was his rookie season. He had just gotten called up. And then we had 3 players with 0 points who were the definition, like inactive free agents. And then you had Fever. So you could count on one hand the number of people who were active on that team. And it was just such a disappointing feeling almost, especially for the people like Priss or whatever, that CrossFit. I mean, he was active, but it was tough to have so few people who had helped work towards that goal and never got to see it come to fruition. Has, especially because he had helped build that team to what it was after coming in season 36, season 37, somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact year. Yeah, it was. If anybody deserved to be able to celebrate that cup, it was him, and he wasn't there. So it was tough. So it was not long after that I retired and recreated and just kind of got a fresh start. And fortunately, it worked out that when I recreated, we had this massive Reddit recruitment, and I think it was the largest class at the time, even more so than my season 31 class, which is incredible. And it really was a shot in the arm. And yeah, it's been trending upwards ever since. So yeah, like exactly, Pin. It wasn't a me problem. It wasn't really anything going on in my life. It was just the site wasn't very fun at the time, and it's definitely better now than it was then. And honestly, it had been, it was just kind of a bad stretch. It wasn't even, yeah, it was just a rough little stretch, but we got through it and we're better for it. So, Wick, yeah, I'm sad I was on hiatus when the large Reddit class happened. Seems like it was a ton of fun. It really was, and it's created a lot of awesome people for the league, and it made the draft really interesting too. Blues. Somehow I kept chugging along when the site was bad. Yeah, um, I think if it happened a couple of seasons earlier in my career when I was still building towards my max build and not in regression, I probably could have fought through it, but it was just a combination of factors. Um, so yeah. I'll go back and pick up Slash's question now. Rank the top 5 goalies in the league based on performance, personality, and reputation. Now I'll get to your chat question, Wick. I'm not ignoring you. Um, so obviously, because I'm biased, I'm going to put Narconis first. I'm definitely not a homer at all. I definitely am not doing that just because he's Hamilton's starting goalie. Let's see. Who else is even goalie right now in the SHL? Bojo, of course, so he's probably up there. It doesn't seem like there's a ton of active people. I mean, you've got Grok, so I'm going to put him third. And Slash, you can be fourth. I'm looking like at the top 10 right now. Like, I can't put Wally fifth. I like him, but he's still a backup. No, he's an SMJHL goalie at this point. A lot of these dudes are not active, though. I guess I could put Vlitty fifth. Who's Edmonton's? Oh, Tuck. That's a tough one. I might have to put him fifth. Never really interacted much with Ask. I think he's gone inactive again anyway. Who is Minnesota's goalie? Prime. He's a cool dude. I don't know if I'd put him in the top 5, though. Holtby's a really cool dude, but he's the backup in New England right now. I don't even think he's active at all. Patrice Nadeau, I should know who that is, and I don't. And it's bothering me. But he's also San Francisco's backup. Hobbs. Who is Hobbs? I thought Vlitty was Hobbs. But maybe he's Vilda. Screw it. Yeah, that's probably in some order. That's probably the top 5. An honorable mention to P. Sanchez 55 in Winnipeg. He's a cool dude too. He's having a pretty good season right now. Actually, maybe I'm snubbing him a little bit. It's tough. It's really tough. Goalies are weird anyway. If Fever were still around, he'd be number 1 though. I mean, he's still around. He's just not a goalie anymore. He recreated as a skater. Yeah, I'm totally not biased. I don't know what you're talking about, Wick. So Wick asks, who is going to draft me in the SHL? So I will admit, I don't have a great idea as far as like how you're doing in terms of the TEPs, as the kids say. Let's see. Who is... Wait, what am I doing? Standings, that's what I'm looking for. I'm sure I've opened that like 5 times at this point. If I would just leave the tab open, it would help. I have sufficiently confused myself at this point. Here we go. All right. I should like throw up my like browser screen next time for this so you can see how much I'm just going insane, bouncing from tab to tab and window to window. Yeah, I have like 3 instances of the SHL index open right now. This is sick. So, TEPS is more or less equal among a few peeps since none of us got all of our PGS updates in. You've got time. So you're one of the top people, so to speak. Um, I could totally see Chicago drafting you, and they'll be an early pick. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Even with just closing a few tabs, I'm down to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 right now. And that's a little light at the moment. So, I don't know. I don't say this in terms of like, trying to insinuate anything, but especially with both of you being experienced users, I don't know if you have a positive relationship with JY or not. I'm not trying to insinuate anything, just, it's weird. Sometimes people build really awesome friendships, sometimes they never really interact at all. I'm not saying y'all are like on the outs or anything, but maybe you just haven't talked to him a lot. I don't know. Obviously, Manhattan will be in the conversation for an early pick. Um, Same with Ace. Um, I don't really see you going to LAP. LAP just kind of tends to draft its LAP people. Could totally see you going to the Pride. Man doesn't have their first. Well, I guess you're not going to JY then. 10-4. Who got there first? To the transaction sub forum. Do 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 do. Where is the draft pick tracker? We're going into season 49. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong red team. New England. Oh, dear God. New England has 3 of the... No, that's the second round. Excuse me. My bad. That's not correct. That is fake news. That is fake news. My mistake, everyone. And now the Google Doc is taking forever to load for some reason. I think Calgary or New England or San Francisco or Calgary. You have been super helpful. Super helpful, Wick. Um, let's see here. Oh, it looks like Calgary has it actually. Yes, Calgary has the pick, which is interesting. I could I don't know. Um, Maybe that might happen. I don't know. It's tough. Huh. What? Well, we're already looking at. Let me make sure none of the other firsts got moved. Oh wait, no, that looks like Manhattan's logo. So why is that? Damn it. Okay, New England, Manhattan, we need to have a chat. All right, but no, we need to have a chat with the pick tracker. That's my real beef at the moment. Okay, because when the picks get moved, they get recolored. They get like this gold sheen on them in the pick tracker or whatever. And literally the only way when you're using the icons to tell the difference between Manhattan and New England, because you both have these animals in the center of your freaking logos, um, is the color. Because like the Manhattan bull looks almost exactly like the New England wolf when you can't see that one of them is red and one of them is gray. So if you could get rid of the color or actually bring back the color, Mr. Pick Tracker, that would be sick. Thanks. I'm pretty sure it's actually Calgary has New England's pick. And where did I just see the bowl? Or what I thought was the bowl? San Francisco has Manhattan's pick. I think that's actually what I'm looking at here. Yes, Manhattan did go from bull to bear back to bull. That is an accurate statement. Um, I like the bull better personally, but that is one man's humble opinion. Um, so yeah, I definitely think you could I could totally see you in San Francisco, either with Manhattan's pick or with San Francisco's pick. Both of them will probably be pretty early. So, seems like a safe bet without taking too hot of a take. So yeah. Da 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 da. Did anybody mistakenly ask me more questions in the questions thread? Nope. Just Pin Knight saying, "Did you say live?" I did say live. I am live. I am as live gets. So, Blues fan, Pride gotta get Wick, and we gotta be stacked. It could happen, man. It could happen. Wick, I have a question. Shoot, man. And now we wait for Wick to type out the question. But yeah, hopefully everybody enjoys these live episodes because I enjoy recording them a lot. But you know, the community involvement is what really makes it work. So. Where? Here we go. Is tampering and hurting the team. Wait, nope. It helps if I read the whole question. Do you feel as if the SHLHO is sometimes a bit too punishment hungry in a sense we always stir the book to the extreme in most situations, i.e., tampering and hurting the team versus the offending party? So I think, and it's interesting you ask this since I'm now in SHLHO. I think that is something we want to try to get away from, honestly. I think that is something we're cognizant of and something we want to improve. And unfortunately, it's got to take some work to kind of tweak the rule book and such and do it in a legitimate way and not just, oh, we're going to make up the rules as we go. Like, actually kind of go through the process of figure out what makes sense, what doesn't, and just really figure out how we want this to actually work, because I that's definitely true. I think with the current tampering punishments, it hurts the team more than the offender. And I think we saw that. Fortunately, with the appeal, it was rectified to a certain extent, but we saw that with the Minnesota situation, that the punishment did not fit the crime. And I think we're aware of that, and we want to rectify that. But it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some work. Got to take some feedback, some involvement. But I think we'll get there. We just got to be diligent in working towards that. I think honestly that came up with the punishment announced today a little bit too, where because of little tiny subtle differences between two situations that technically should sort of fall under the same umbrella, we ended up with two really weird, wonky punishments that I don't even think we're completely happy with, but we were kind of like, what the hell do we do? And we just tried to make the best of a bad situation, and more importantly, learn what we need to change moving forward to prevent that from happening and move forward. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just moving forward from this, having the proper channels in place to prevent regression issues from slipping through the cracks and leading to players getting into the sim unregressed. That's the bigger issue than either what Halsey did or what Confusion did. So, and those steps have already been taken. So, were you team hashtag free Gorlab or hashtag fuck Gorlab LOL? Um, by the time I joined the SHL, he was already gone. Um, I have interacted with him in SBA. For the most part, those have been okay experiences. I won't go as far as to say pleasant, but we've never really drawn odds with each other when I was active in the SBA. Um, with that being said, for the very brief amount of time when I was in the SHL and Bojo, out of the kindness of his heart, unbanned Gorlab. Gorlab immediately proved he has no interest in actually contributing whatsoever to the SHL other than to spew his hatred and vitriol of the SHL. So no, I'm good without that. Thanks. If he could join and be more like SBA Gorlab, then maybe we could talk about it. But he's not going to do that. He had his chance to prove that and did the exact opposite of that. So I'm good without him. If I want to hang out with Gorlab more, I'll go back to SBA. Pen Knight. I don't like rules and I don't like punishment, but you got to rule with an iron fist. I mean, you do and you don't. It is important to enforce the rule book, because then otherwise, what is the point of the rule book? But at the same time, it is a sim league too. And that was easily the hardest part when I was in SMJ LHO, because it was so easy for people to say, oh, you need to, be more lenient because these are new users or whatever. But okay, that's fine. But also, you can't just not enforce the rulebook because you have pity for new users. It's tough. Question from Pin Knight: should I join the baseball sim league during the optimal time next off season? I enjoy it. It's actually going to be interesting because they'll be expanding next off season, I believe. So that might be the perfect time to join. I think it's next off season anyway. I'd have to double check on that. I know expansion talks are in the works, and I'm pretty sure that's this coming off season they want to do that because they're searching for GMs and stuff. But yeah, if you're into baseball, sure. I'm a pitcher over there. I suck. In fact, I'm missing a stream right now because I decided to do this instead. My bad. Sorry, PBE people. I'm sure I'm sucking, though. That's why I'm the mop-up guy out of the bullpen, so at least they're already losing if I get into the game. I'm not hurting anything. But, I'll get better with time. Survivor... Wick. Bleh. What do you think makes us the most... Holy shit, I can't read. What makes us the best and most active league above other successful leagues such as the SBA and VHL? Sorry for so many questions. I think it's a combination of factors. Like when you compare it to specifically the VHL, although the SBA uses the same model, I think we've probably just been the most successful in terms of like recruitment on Reddit and stuff, while also creating a platform that is more accessible. And I'm not saying it's perfect by any means. For some people, the VHL/SBA model of updating and doing media every week for your TPE instead of acquiring money through media or jobs or whatever. It keeps you involved, it keeps you active in the league, that kind of thing. Yeah, I enjoyed that when I was active in the SBA. But I think for most people, the SHL model of using money to train and being able to earn that money at your schedule and your pace, it's just more accessible, especially to people who just wouldn't be able to do a 500-word media every week. Instead, you can write just something 150, 200 words and be done with it. Especially with affiliate programs, like if Penn chose to join the PBE, um, to be a max earner there, he would really only have to write another 300 words a week because they have like 2 weekly PTs. They have their regular PT and then their journal PT. The regular PT, he could choose whichever one he prefers between the SHL and the PBE one for that week, do it, and then it counts for both through the welfare program. Just link to the other, and then if he wanted to do the journal PT, he could. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm not a max earner in PBE. Yeah, just right, exactly. Penn will have no problem writing 300 words. He's a crazy person. So really, outside of, he would just have to add 300 words a week and then make sure he does the predictions for the Saturday Sims, and that's really it. And then just make a little bit of money doing a couple of media a season. And there, the entry level contracts are a lot more rookie friendly too. So he'd get a nice little plus the rookie tasks. He'd be able to get set up pretty quickly. And then he could just do one media a season and be fine over there because he's insane. Yeah, don't burn out on me, bud. I need you in Russia. um, um, but yeah, I think in general, Wick, to get back to your question though, I think that just to set your own pace style is just more accessible when you're bringing in these new members off of Reddit or whatever. I might be wrong on that. I'm not even saying it's necessarily the better or worse way, but it seems to be what is more intuitive for people. So I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on that, especially people who have been in both, like I have. I haven't been in VHL though. So Pen Knight, you have no clue over 30 years of gaming addiction. I don't understand this burnout thing you talk of. It blew my mind when you were telling me in Russia about like some of the games you still play and stuff. It's pretty wild. And I think that's one thing that you see a lot with, not to insinuate or insult, but older users. And obviously, if you have 30 years of gaming addiction, you are at least 35. So you are older than me at the very least, compared to, some of the younger users that come in. You see a lot. They get latched onto it, but then they find a shiny new penny or whatever, and off they go. There aren't too many shiny new pennies when you get to a certain age, and I'm at that age, and you're older than me. So, Wick, what is the worst logo in SHL history? Hydra's? Hydra's was pretty bad. Man, I gotta think about this one though, because there have been some rough ones. I was never a huge fan of the Seattle Riot logo, which reminds me, you also asked me if I can scroll up to that point. What was the question? I remember seeing a Seattle question. Who was the worst of the terrible run of GM Seattle had? Clardy, no question. Okay. Sammy was rough too, but I think Clardy wins. I mean, he literally got fired, so I don't think you can top that. Why is the worst logo in SHL history, though? I never was a huge fan of the Riot logo. I know that was a very popular one. The old Riot logo, not the last one they had with the Space Needle that looked like they were just copying Toronto. But the Riot logo with like the spray can, the graffiti theme or whatever. Let me see if I can find it in their sub form. It looks like that might have. Is it under team information? It looks like it has been scrubbed. Oh, no, maybe franchise information archive. Oh, there it is. Yes. Oh, it wasn't a spray can. It was like a Molotov. Yeah. I'm going to see if it'll let me link it in chat for Pen Knight, because he might not know what I'm talking about. Hopefully that works. Yep, it worked. Cool. Wick, I'm assuming referring to Clardy, was bad. I tried doing a trade with him once. Bad, bad, bad. Clardy once, when I was co-GM in Winnipeg, tried to convince me to trade him Bonk, as in Big Manius, as in like one of the unquestioned leaders of Winnipeg at right before we hit our peak in like season 37. Also, when we only had like 5 defensemen as it were at the time. Can you imagine the riot in the league if we had traded Bonk away from Winnipeg? It would have been insane. There was nothing Seattle could have offered for us to make that trade. And he had the audacity to even ask about it. That was fun. Pen, thanks. I kind of like it at first look because the Space Needle, but after looking at it for a while, I start to hate it. And the worst part was it wasn't even. I mean, it's a neat little something unique. I hate to bust on it because it is different, but it was like not only was it not that appealing, but also looked terrible in jersey swaps because it's just so tall. It was just impossible to make it really work when applying it to a jersey. Not to mention the colors are goofy as well. So yeah, no, it was no good. Wick says it was fun being co-GM in Toronto for 2 seasons. I miss it, but I'm glad Cynthia and I were able to win a cup together and break the curse. Yeah, that was awesome. And there were lots of fun people on that team. I was happy for them and you. Were you still co when Winnipeg won in season 37, or had you stepped down by then, Wick? The Hydra's logo was bad. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it for Pen though. I wouldn't even know where to look. I'm trying to remember what that team's lineage was, honestly. Was that? Let's see. Can the Bojo box help me with this? Probably not, because it's kind of a weird. Where did I don't feel as bad about the dead air because we're over. I was co for 35 and 36, stepped down after being offered a full-time job since I knew I'd have to take a hiatus. Right, yeah, so you were not co-GM in season 37 when we beat Toronto for the cup, right? I didn't think you were, but I couldn't remember for sure. Oh, here we go. What the hell is this? There's an SHL wiki? Who the hell made this? I would like to know more. Anyways, I didn't know this was a thing, but here's a link to the Hartford Hydra's SHL wiki page, Pin Night. I'll drop it in chat as soon as I figure out which tab I was in. There we go. Huh. Yeah, Raymond winning a cup was very cool. So, yeah, what's up with this? I'm like checking out this. Huh. Okay. It's. Wow, this is not recent material at all. Holy crap, it has Leafs listed as the Winnipeg GM, Diener as the Texas GM. So this would have been like late 20s. Rags was LAP co-GM. Tanner was Hamilton GM. So that might help narrow down the time frame where we're looking at here. I I could probably go to Hamilton's team information. Let's see. Team history. Is it in there? Tanner was between season 23 and season 28. Wow, I'm just fascinated that this exists. Wick. Portland traded us Harder mid-season, season 35, and we used him against him in the finals to win. Yes, that was. I also love that. Harder, the Russian stud. Pin Knight. More dragons, not my thing. Yeah, the Hydras. Damn, that's old shit. I don't even. Yeah, the dragons had a. Yeah, the Hydras had dragons in their logo, which I guess they're technically Hydras, but whatever. Damn, that's old shit. I don't know most of this, and I thought joining season 25 made me oldish. So maybe this is like a season 24. Well, no, it had to be about season 25. When did Buffalo? Because it has Buffalo listed, and Portland. So it had to be pretty much like the first season after regression when this was. I mean, expansion. Holy crap, when this was made. It doesn't have Winnipeg season 25 cup, so I'm thinking season 24, season 25 is when this would have been built. Let's see. Wow, this is wild. Anyway, let's get out of there. Wow. Man, well, that was a fun trip down memory lane to close out the episode, eh, guys? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get off here and go grab a bite to eat, and then probably play some video games the rest of the night or something. I need to do laundry and pack. Crap. Anyway, um, so yeah, thank y'all for tuning in, and anybody who listens on demand. Sorry that we went on that random little trip. You're oh, it's gonna really suck for you because you're not gonna be able to see the links that we were talking about. I'll definitely link to this old ass wiki though in the post when I put it up on the media for sure. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and have a good night, y'all.